Jai Hind everyone. My name is Neeharika Tripathi. I am working as a assistant professor in CSE AIML department at AKGEC Engineering College. Today I am going to discuss about the topic data analytics life cycle. This topic is in the subject data analytics and visualization unit 1. So first of all, I want to tell you about what is data. What is data? Data is the facts that have not been processed to explain their meaning. For example, if I say that I have collected a data of 10 students, I have collected, but it is not processed. It is not like I have not saved it anywhere. I have just collected it. So that is the data. I have collected the data of 10 students or any number of students. So that is a data. So whenever I am going organize all these data, come the information. So information is the organized form of data. So data is of two types, primary data and secondary data. First of all, what is primary data? The data that has been collected for the first time. Like for example, if I said that like I have collected the data of 10 students or any number of students. So this is the data that I have collected for the first time. This is not processed. Whenever I will process it, it will become the information. They are original in nature, means there is no copy of that data at other place. So they are directly related to the current issue. Like if I am saying that I want to collect the data of 10 students to evaluate the marks of the students. So that is the current that I have to evaluate. If I have to evaluate the marks of the student, so this is the current issue, that the current problem that I am going to solve. So that is the primary data. So there are various methods to collect the primary data. First is the survey method. Like for example, like there may be people who are coming for a survey at your home, that they will be asking your information, that what are the family members existing in your home. So this is a survey method, like collecting the data by visiting to various persons, across different places. Next is the interview method. Interview method like the interacting with the other person, or there are in the interview method there are two persons. One is the interviewer and the next is the interviewee. Interviewee is the person who is going to give the interview, or the whose data is being collected, and the interviewer is the person who is asking the questions. So interview method, in this method the people communicate with each other. The interviewer will ask the questions, and based on the assumptions and based on the responses given by the interviewee, the data is being collected or the information is being organized. Observation method. Observation method is the method where we are going to observe the activities of the human, of the individuals. Like if there are 100 people in coming for an interview and we have to shortlist at least 10 students. So how we can do? By using rather than taking interview of the 100%, we will shortlist we will observe, we will write some points. We will observe what the people they are doing. We will be collecting the data based on they're doing what they are going to perform, what they will be doing. Next is the experimental method. Experiment method is the method that is used to do the research about after taking the research, we are going to collect the data. Like if I am saying that I have to work on any topic of data analytics, like I am going to collect the data of 100 students. So how we can do? I have experimented, how I have seen from where I have collected the data. So that is the experiment method, where some research is being done to collect the data. Now next is the secondary data. First of all, the primary data was the data that is the current, that is on the fresh data, or we can say that is used for the first time. Secondary data. Secondary data is the data that will be taken from the primary source. That is the primary data. It will be taken from the primary source, and then we will be using it in the secondary data. For example, if if there is admission going on in a college, the students are coming for the first time. So the primary data will be collected at the admission cell. Then the secondary data. In the secondary data, like the details of the student will be sent back to the other departments. They will be sent to the respective department. There may be students of CSE AIML department, there will be students of IT department, there will be students of mechanical department. So the students will be segregated according to their branches, according to their information that is that is required. So that is the secondary data which uses the primary data. Now there are different methods. First is the internal source. Internal source is the method that is being found in an organization. For example, like I said, there are the record of the students of all the students. So that is the internal source. Next is the external source. External source, that is the data that is being sent to the other, that is being taken by the other organizations, like from the secondary, not from the internal source, but they are being taken from the external source, like journals, publications, magazines. We collect the data, we collect the information from the external sources. So external source is the data which cannot be found at the internal source within the organizations and can be gained through third parties resources, is the external source data. So for example, the data collected in the government agencies, news, journals, magazines are the examples of secondary data. Now classification, how the data is being classified, how the data is being categorized. So there are three types of data: structured data, semi-structured data and unstructured data. What is structured data? Structured data that is in the form of the tables, like if the students' records are being stored in the attendance registers, all the record of the students are maintained, like we write the roll number, we write the admission number of the student, we write the roll number of the student, we write the name of the student. So this data is the structured data. And if I talk about accessing this data over the internet, so this data is stored in the form of tables, or all this data is structured data is in the form of tabular format, and it requires relationship, that is relationship between the tables. All the tables are being linked to each other. That is the structured data. And one more example of a structured data uses RDBMS, that is Relational Database Management System. So what is Relational Database Management System? It is a software that is used to organize the data, relational database system, and in which all the tables are being connected to each other. They are linked to each other. Next is the semi-structured data. Semi-structured data. Before I start with the semi-structured, what is unstructured data? Unstructured data, like we are using over the internet, maximum of 80 to 90% data is unstructured. Like it is in the form of text, audio, video, images, Facebook, LinkedIn, these are all the examples of the unstructured data. What is that unstructured data? Unstructured data, like if I am saying that I have to collect the, I have to add any reels, we are going to post the reels, the data, like if there is a Google form, I want to upload a Google form, like if I am writing the name, personal information, class, roll number, all the details, personal details, and I am going to upload the image of the data also. Video, I am going to upload the image file, video files, we are uploading any form, Google form. So that is the unstructured data. The data that can be in the form of text also, it can be form of the video also. The captcha we are going to fill in the, we fill in the Google form is also an example of unstructured data, because it is not having any structure, because there is no way to store this type of data. So unstructured data, there it is a data that is coming from the internet. It has different format, not only single, only textual information is not there. It can consist of audio also, it can consist of video also, text also. So all the data that is being shared over the internet is in the form of unstructured data. So if we want to extract this data, we want to process this data, so there is a technique, that is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is used in to process the unstructured data. So what it will do, it will organize the data, it will decide that which type of data is this, where I have to place this type of data. That is the unstructured data. Next is the semi-structured data. Semi-structured data, XML files, call center logs with toll-free responses, web. We can say like semi-structured. Semi-structured means the combination of structured as well as the unstructured. The data which is some of part of it is structured and some part of it is unstructured. That is the semi-structured data. For example, like if we are going to compose any email, we are going to send an email to our friend. So there is a structure being followed. Like if I write the to, subject, then body comes. So to, subject, CC, BCC, all these are the structured data, means there is a format that is being followed. After that unstructured data is there. Like if you want to add document file also, you can write the text information also, you can add any attachment also. So that is the semi-structured, combination of structured as well as unstructured data. XML files that are being stored over the internet, or like the XML files, that is the user defined files. So this is also an example of semi-structured data. There is no proper sequence in the XML files, but still they are being stored in the form of structured as well as unstructured data. All the call center logs, they are the example of unstructured data. Now, next topic is this data analytics. Data analytics means what is data? Like I have explained previously also, that data is the information or like the raw input that is being given to the computer, over that is being stored over the internet. The raw information, raw data, raw input that is being given by the computer. So whenever we are going to process this, it becomes the data and data information. So what is data analytics? In the companies, a lot of data is being coming, or over the internet, a lot of big data is being collected over the internet. So there is a technique, there should be some techniques that should be followed to analyze that data. That means data analytics is the broad term that includes everything from simply analyzing the data to theorizing ways to collect the data and creating the frameworks needed to store it. So what is data analytics? Data analytics means it is a term that includes everything, like organizing the data, analyzing the data, means studying the data, what kind of information this is, how we are collecting, studying all the data and the related information associated with it is data analytics. So in the data analytics, there includes 4 types of principles are there. There should be 4 principles. First is the descriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics, it means what has happened, tell us what happened. Description means what is the problem, what the problem is. Then descriptive, then diagnostic, then we will find the diagnostic. Like if I am going to a doctor, I have some problem, I am going to the doctor. So first of all, what the doctor will do? The doctor will ask me what has happened, what happened to you, why you are coming to me. So then the diagnostic, then you will say that I have these types of symptoms. So like these types of symptoms, and the doctor will ask you that if you have eaten something else, if you are like, if your stomach is not proper work, like if you are having any other issues, if there is any previous issues are there, past history are there. So that is a diagnostic. The reason, defining the reason why it has happened, the reason behind this. Predictive analysis. Predictive analysis means what will happen in the future, like what would be the result of this. If a doctor has given you some prescription, if a doctor has diagnosed a disease, that he will tell you that what would be the future outcomes, what will happen that about if you will not take medicine and all. So that is the predictive analysis. Then the prescription. Now Doctor has defined you that what will be the future outcome. It has all been defined. So it were now next is the prescriptive analytics. Prescriptive analysis tell us how to act. Means now everything we have decided, like what has happened to us, what was the reason behind the problem. Then we have tell what is the problem, then what is the reason behind the problem, and also what is the future outcomes of the problem. Next is the, if there is any problem, how to act, what will happen in the next, what will happen after the future, how it is going to implement it. So all these is the prescriptive analysis. Like the doctor gives us medicines, in the same way how we are going to implement the situation, that is the prescriptive analysis. Now various phases. So that is a topic. Moving on to our topic, that is the data analytics life cycle. For example, like if we are going to study any topic, anything, there is a there should be a steps are followed. So before I start with the various phases, there are the key roles. There are some people who are involved in the project, in the data analytics project. So there are 7 people who are involved in the data analytics for the proper functioning of the data analytics project. So first person is the project sponsor. The project sponsor is the person who is going to decide the business, who is going to study about the problem, who decides the what is the project, what we are going to what kind of data we are going to analyze. That is the work of the project sponsor. Next is the business analytics. Business analyst is the person who decides the business, what are the requirements that will be required for analyzing the data. So he is the person, after the project's sponsor, they will both decide what are the requirement gathering, what are the program, like what will be the future outcomes, what are the basic steps we will be requiring, what is the requirement for collecting the data. That is the work of the business analytics. Then they will decide what would be the sources of the data, from where we would be collecting the data. So all this data will be stored by a database. When all the information that will be coming, that will be stored by the database administrator, who will study the data, the person who stores the data, that is the data administrator. Data administrator is the person who, after the project sponsor and the business analysis, they will decide what kind of data is, what will be the sources, what are the, once the project sponsor has decided what would be the requirements, now business analysts, and they will decide what would be the what kind of data would be there, and from where the data will be coming, and who, and when the talking about the storage of the data, sources of the data, all the data will be stored by the database administrator, the person who stores the data. Next is the data engineer. Now, data engineer is the person who will perform all the necessary necessary coding about the project, how it will be analyzed. It will basically, the work of the data engineer is to study the data. They will study the data. And fifth is the data Now, data scientist. Data scientist is the person who are going to study about the future outcomes, who will do the research about the scientists, they will do the research. So, data scientist is the person who will do the research about the project. So, all these are the persons who are involved in the data analytics project. So, after that, after the studying these roles, there are various phases in the data analytics life cycle. So, first is the discovery. The data science team investigates, learn and investigate the problem. First of all, discovery. Discovery means studying the problem. What is the what the problem is. So in the discovery, there are first various steps that would be followed. So first of all, what would be decided? The data learn, and first of all the problem would be decided. So first is formulating the data discovery. So what is the discovery? Discovery means the term that is the data science teams learns and formulate the problem. So first is the formulating the problem. What is the problem? So that is the first is formulate the problem. They will what is the problem? They will decide the problem. Then next is they will collect the resource. It means develop the context and understanding, means what is the project, what they will first of all they will analyze the problem, and now they will run about the causes of the problem, why the problem has what is the reason behind the problem. Next comes to know about the data sources needed and available resources for the project. So that next is the resources. In the resources, now after deciding the resources, like what would be the, from where the data would be collected, like in the starting, like I have told that the business analyst and the project sponsor, they will decide what is the source of the data, what are the various data sources that are available. So from where the data would be coming. So all these will be taken in the discovery part. They will first decide the resources, what are the resources needed. Now they will also decide how much time would be required, how much time would be taken to complete that project. If I had taken any project, what is the time required to complete this problem, to analyze this problem, what is the time taken. Then people, or we can say next is the people or the persons or the stakeholders that would be involved. So these four things, all these things involve formulating the problem, what are the resources that would be required, means the sources of the data. Time, how much time would be taken to study this data, to analyze this data. Fourth is the people who would be involved in analyzing this data. Last is formulating the hypothesis. The team formulates the initial hypothesis that can be later tested with the data. Means some assumptions are being followed, and hypothesis means some assumptions are being followed, would be tested in the after the completing all the stages. These assumptions will be tested later on. Next is the data preparation. Data preparation. Data preparation means steps to explore pre-process and condition data prior to modeling and analysis. Means all the data would be, now it would be processed. It would require the three-tier model, that is ETL. ETL means extract, transform and load. Means it requires the presence of an analytic sandbox. The team execute, load and transform the data into the sandbox. That means sandbox, basically it is the environment that is being used to analyze the data. So in the data preparation step, we analyze and we explore the data, we will extract all the data that is being coming. Now if we are extracting in, then it is being transformed. Now this data would become information, because it will be the organized form of the data. The data would be loaded now, the data would be converted to the data cleaning would be there, the data would be conditioned according to the format required. So that is the transform. Then after that, loading the data over the system. To study this analysis, for doing the analysis, we are going to store the data over the system. Data preparation tasks are likely to be performed multiple times and not not in the predefined order. So they are performed on the spot. There is no data that is predefined. Predefined analysis is not there. The data has to be performed multiple times. The data and these tasks should be performed multiple times. So there are various tools that are being used to study this type of data, like Hadop, Alpine Master, OpenRefine. These are the tools that are being used for the data preparation. Basically, in the data preparation step, we first extract the information, extract the data, we convert it into format, a proper format, and then we load the data into the system. Next is the model planning. Now, model planning means creating the blueprint of the data. Blueprint means the rough structure. Team explores the data to learn about the relationships between variables and subsequently select key variables and most suitable variables. So there are different independent variable, dependent variables, constant. So all these things would be decided, to whom the values would be decided, how the data is being dependent upon each other, how they are independent. So all these models will be studied in the model planning. Then after studying the model, in this phase, data science teams develop the data sets for training, testing and production purposes. So in this team, the data science team, what it will do, it will train it will be doing the training, it will be studying the data, testing the data, what are the key, how they are dependent. So all these team will be creating a model for the data, for studying the data. So all this model will be used in the tools like MATLAB, Statistica. So these are the basic tools that are being used for the model planning. So model, after that, first of all, we have created the blueprint, that how it will look like, how the data would be there, how it will look like. Next is the model building. Model building means now we are going to the implementation part. So model building develop data sets for testing, training and production purposes. So we have created testing, we have done the testing, training and production purpose. Now data sets are being created for the, building the model. Now team also considers whether its existing tools will suffice for running the models, or if they need more robust environment for executing the model. Now they will study, after building them, after planning, model planning, the data would be studied now. Now this data would be analyzed. There would be, like, it would be checked that if this model is already existing or some tools are using this type of model, if it is running, if there is any copy of that data. So that in order to avoid the inconsistency, we create what we do, we check that if the data is already exists over the system or not. So if there is any other requirement, so all these will be studied in the model building. Next is the free or tools. There are various tools that are being required for the model building, for studying the data, for the model building, like RAND, PLR, Octava, Veka tools. So these are the programming languages. R is a software language. So these are the software tools that are being used for the model building. Now, if I talk about a problem in the data discovery phase, like if I have to collect the data of 100 students, then in the discovery and the data preparation, all, like, we have studied the data, preparation is being done, model planning is also done, means we have created a blueprint, then we have moved to the coding part. Now after doing the coding, next is the communication result. Now, like in the data discovery phase, we have taken a phase that that the initial assumptions would be there, it was there, that initial hypothesis was made. So after execution model, team need to compare the outcomes of the modeling to compare criteria established for the success and failure. Now the data team will check the data, all the data analyst will check if all these assumptions or hypotheses that are being made in the data discovery phase are true or not. If they are true, then the product will be success of the project is there. But if there is any step, any failure is there, so we have to go back to the study all the problem. So the communication results or the hypothesis taken in the data discovery phase decides what would be the future outcome of my project. Team consider how best to articulate the findings and outcomes to various team members and stakeholders, taking into account warning assumptions. Team should identify key findings, quantify business value, and keep narrative to summarize and convey findings to stakeholders. Now, after analyzing all the data, the communication team or the model team, they will study that data if the structures or failure of the project is there or not. Then operationalize data. Operationalize means the team communicates the benefits of now all the benefits would be decided. Benefits of the project more broadly and set up pilot project to deploy work in controlled way before broadening the work to fulfill the enterprise of users. This approach enables team to learn about the performances and related constraints of the model in production environment on small scale and make adjustments for full deployment. Now, after these communication results, after studying all the success, failure, after doing the testing, now the data, now this is the time to upload the project. This is the time to generate a report about the project, or the finally delivery of the project is being done over this step. So that is the operationalized store. So this was all about the data analytics life cycle. Thank you very much everyone. Jai Hind.